Hello, everybody, and welcome to this new revision of Martes de Prueba number 4 for ninth grade in the year 2025. Thank you very much for watching. We're going to start by sharing so we can get to this analysis. Very good. As I mentioned, you can see right here, this is Martes de Prueba number 4 for the ninth grade. And over here, as always, the first thing we need to do is to evaluate what kind of exercise we're going to complete. Even though we have a text, this is an exercise that involves making decisions regarding which of the 4 options for each question would be the most appropriate concept, term, lexical unit, word, whatever you may call it, for each one of the possibilities or gaps. But here we have gaps, which we need to fill with one of the options that we have on this column on the right. Okay? So yes, of course, reading comprehension is a must. We need to understand the context in which the text is developing in order to discern which would be the best option. Sometimes the 4 options could work grammatically, for example, and even from a coherence perspective. But the thing is that we need to choose the most appropriate concept, the one that is going to express the idea that the author really wants to express. Okay, so let's start. You will see. So over here, I'm going to increase a little bit the size so we can all go paragraph by paragraph. Let's see if this is enough. Okay, so we're going to start with questions 21 and 22, which are included in the paragraph 1. So let's start reading. Like most other clothing items, shoes have evolved in their design and manufacture. Shoes were originally made from very natural, we got the first gap. So we got 4 options, and then we say, shoes were originally made from very natural substances, things, materials, or objects. This is one of those cases in which you'll say, oh my God, coherently, including in semantics and grammatically, the 4 options could work. Again, we need to choose the most appropriate according to the message that the author wants to express, which will be the best option over here, material. Okay, this is the one that I suggest. And then the suggestion is, as a strategy, you read it again and confirm, like double check your answer. So, shoes were originally made from very natural materials. Let's continue. They have gone from being simply a practical foot covering meant to protect the foot to, in many cases, being a status symbol. Then we have the second gap. And the options are being a status symbol and decoration worn on foot. And let's evaluate and. If we say and, we say that both cases happen at the same time, being a status symbol and decoration worn on the foot. Okay. But the case is that not always the 2 cases are going to be reality, because for some people, a status is not important, but the decorative purpose of the shoes could be. So that is why I will say that and is not the best option. But remember, emphasizes contrast. So over here, we don't want to emphasize or to determine contrast between status symbol and the other one would be decoration word on foot. We don't want to establish contest. The other option, or this is the one that I suggest as a program. It's one or the other, right? Sometimes it could be both, but in this case, we want to give like the option that it could be one or the other. And nor is an expression that we use for both negatives, okay? But in this case, both are established to be positives. So when we say being, that means positive. It will be a different case if we would say not being. We would say not being a status symbol nor the correction word on foot. In that case, nor, since it is negative, it should be a good option. Okay? So that's the case, or those are the answers for questions 21 and 22. Let's move on. Let's move on to the next paragraph, in which we will find questions 23 and 24. Let's continue reading, okay? The oldest pair of shoes documented was found in the western United States and is believed to have existed sometime between 1700 and 1800 before the Common Era. These shoes were made from the natural material of sagebrush, this sagebrush bark, which is like the cover of a tree. Okay. Then you see that over here we have a period that is important. That is why in 23, the four options start with a capital letter. Okay. Then we need to decide which would be the best one according to the idea. So these shoes were originally only made from natural materials that can easily decompose and disintegrate. So over here, this is a condition of these shoes. But then let's evaluate the for all. From shoes were originally only made from shoes. So I would say that syntactically, grammatically, from wouldn't work. Let's say B. Of shoes were originally only made of, because of the same reasons I will cancel off. Since in this case, this is a good option, because in this phrase, if we use since, what we're trying to provide is reason, right? Like if we say, since shoes were originally only made from natural materials that can easily decompose and disintegrate. If this is reason, then on the second part of this sentence, we will find the result. So if the reason is that originally only they were only made from natural materials that can easily decompose and disintegrate, few have been found from early primitive periods. So this would be the consequence or the reason, right? The reason is the material could easily decompose and disintegrate. Okay? As a consequence, few have been found. Okay, so that is why I propose C, since, as the correct answer. Anyway, let's evaluate two. Two shoes were originally only made because of the same reason. Grammatically, it wouldn't work. Therefore, either syntactically, probably, but not semantically. The meaning will be like a nonsense. It wouldn't make sense, okay? Very good. And let's evaluate 24 before we move on to the last paragraph. The oldest known shoes made of leather were found in Armenia and are believed to date back to 3500 and before the Common Era. Okay, so this is the first idea, and then the complementary or final idea of the paragraph. This, okay, so plural, we're talking about what? Talking about pair of shoes. This is what we're talking about, but then we're looking for an adjective. Over here we have four options: disgusting, recent, priceless, and ancient. Of course, they say they were believed to date back to before the Common Era. This is 3,500 years before the Common Era, or in other words, before Jesus Christ. So this is very, very old. It couldn't be recent. Disgusting, they don't mention if they are disgusting or nice. Cancel. Priceless, they could be priceless. Um, yes, they could be, but over here they're not um, emphasizing the value. They're not mentioning the values, but I'm sorry, but what they're mentioning here is how old they are, right? That is what they're emphasizing. So priceless, cancel. And let's see how this idea works with ancient. Ancient is a synonym of old, antique. Now, the oldest, that's a key element, known shoes made of leather were found in Armenia and are believed to date back to 3500 before the Common Era. These ancient pairs of shoes were discovered in caves in the past century. So this one makes perfect sense. That would be the option that I would suggest. D, ancient. Okay, let's erase this one so we can move down to the final paragraph and question 25. Let's continue. No one is credited with the invention of shoes, as the oldest known forms of shoes date back thousands of years. Sandals are commonly depicted in ancient Egyptian paintings and murals, indicating shoes. We got 25 shoes before the earliest known forms of writing. So we have over here different options indicating shoes transformed, existed, implemented, created. So over here, I will suggest that the correct answer is existed. So since in these Egyptian paintings and murals, shoes or sandals better have been depicted, means that they have been shown in these paintings and murals. So that is an indication. Indication of what? That they have existed or they existed before the earliest known forms of writing. So why not transform? Shoes transform before? No. Transformation is not an alternative. Shoes implemented before? No, that would be an auxiliary missing, like a verb to be, like shoes were implemented. No. And think about it. You don't implement shoes. You use them, but you don't implement them. So we cancel C. And then shoes created before. Again, an auxiliary would be required for this sentence to be adequate or to be like grammatically correct. So it is missing, so created. And let's evaluate with existed. Again, indicating shoes existed before the earliest known forms of writing, which is consistent too with the first idea. Because, I mean, in thousands of years in the past, where these forms or sandals or shoes were used, the primitive ones, so of course there is no register of who will be credited with the invention of shoes. So with this, I believe we have finished the review of Martes de Prueba number 4 for 9th grade in the year 2025. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for your attention. Please remember to click on like subscribe to the channel, and promote so other people can benefit from these reflections. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the future.